Hi. It is your, see if I can move, friendly neighborhood leftist Sophie here with another episode of Call a Liberal, where we open this time and space for anyone interested in discussion and not debate around the current events and topics of politics, news, or sex and sexuality of the day. I am in such a state of no fucks given tonight. Like it's ridiculous. I I'm hoping that today we can focus on uh women and what it is and what it takes to be a real woman. Um so if you're wanting to chat with me about what you think a real woman is, what the definition of a woman is, uh, sex and gender, especially what your thoughts are on trans women and men. I would love to hear your thoughts and perspective. Uh, Baby girl is almost asleep, hopefully. So, thank goodness she's feeling better. We actually couldn't stream a couple days ago because she was so under the weather. So, we're back. I'm trying to keep her off screen because I don't think TikTok likes that very much. But hello also to my friends watching from wherever you're watching from, YouTube and Twitch and Kick and even Rumble and Locals, some of my more alt-right places. Because again, I would love to chat with you if you believe a little differently than I do. That's my hope, is that we can start to find bridges towards one another's way of thinking, because we have so much more in common with each other than we do with the Elon Musks and Donald Trumps of the world. And so, yeah, I agree. So I'm hoping that we can, again, find that common ground together. So if you like, go ahead and start sharing. Well, my goodness, thank you. Somebody said I am a real woman. Well, they specifically said you are a real woman, pointing to me. That's very nice of you. What's funny is, maybe not. I actually have a condition called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it gives me what are called secondary sex characteristics of a male. So I get hair on my chest. It affects my hormone levels to a great degree. So I might have a lot more testosterone than, I guess, your average woman. So no, I'm not 100% woman. I actually, by a lot of metrics, would be considered intersex. I don't like to claim that though, because I feel like I haven't had to deal with living as an intersex person my whole life. But technically, yeah, I'm not a real woman. And as ridiculous as that is to say, I hope you're taking that in such a ridiculous way as well, because quite frankly, a woman is whoever a woman says she is, quite frankly. Because if you think about it, gender is nothing but a social scale or a social hierarchy. It's how we look at the different sexes and then classify those in our minds by what are called gender schema. So as we grow up, and even from, again, babies, we look at the world around us and we start to classify and label and identify certain things as being either little boy, little girl, man, woman, yeah, or somewhere in between. And so that's why I can look at like an androgynous or non-binary person and say, oh, well, they fit into that gender schema that I have of not quite man, not quite woman. Or again, just look at a traditional person and be like, oh, that looks like a man, that looks like a woman. And if I again turn that gender schema like camera or that mind's eye onto myself, I can, again, I feel like a woman. I look like a woman. But because, again, I have certain traits that put me in that intersex category a little bit. I'm not 100% woman. So the gender schema that I've built over the years of my life of what a woman is, I don't actually fit solidly into that. So, and that's okay. That's just where it is, what it is. Yeah, Eugene. Yeah, I have a condition called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if you look it up, the presentation of that gives some women more secondary sex characteristics of a male, like higher testosterone. That's more of like a genotypic sex trait. But things like facial hair and stuff like that, yeah, it kind of pushes you outside of the bounds of being 100% woman. And I can actually show you. I found an amazing uh let me see, an amazing chart that might be helpful in this regard. So let me switch my screens over so you guys can see. And let's talk about this a little bit. This is a gender spectrum that, what is his name? It's Just Flint is Fine on Instagram created. It's not anything new. I've seen these kind of things before, but let's see. Make sure this is showing up for you. It's a little tricky on I'm on two different, I'm on OBS and Streamlabs, so it's kind of a lot. But yeah, if you can see this gender spectrum, I love it because I think it's the best representation I've seen of gender. So let me move myself out of the way a touch. So let's talk about it a little bit. So on the left, at the top left, you have woman. That's 100% woman. X chromosomes and vagine, all the bits. And then down at the bottom right, you have 100% man, swinging cod, as our dear friend Jane would say. XY chromosomes solidly in that middle state. And again, we're talking about gender, not sex. So if we need a primer on the difference, please let me know. Okay. But when it comes to gender, again, you can be on either side of that, or you can fall somewhere in the middle. So again, because I have some genotypic and secondary phenotypic sex characteristics of a male, again, higher testosterone and facial hair and things like that, I'm not really solidly in there. So I'm probably more along this line. Bless you. Bless you. So, and keep in mind, you can call in anytime if you have a difference of opinion or you are like, what? You want a little bit more clarification, like Eugene. Yeah, you're more than welcome to weigh in. But yeah, it's definitely not okay. And I'm sorry. I'm hoping she would be asleep. It is actually 1:19 a.m. in the morning where I am. So she is way up past her bedtime. But yeah, so I just wanted to again clarify that when it comes to gender, it's a very wide spectrum. It's a very wide spectrum. So again, I'm somewhere here, maybe. And people who are, you know, solidly man are here. People who don't feel like they really represent either are here. They're more agender. People who feel like they're a bit of both are more non-binary. And people who are, able to move between the genders are gender fluid. And what's funny is if your sex and if your gender assigned at birth, I guess, was a little boy, but you are a woman and you feel like you're a woman and your gender schema for a woman is what you feel your gender identity to be, then you're up here in the woman side. somewhere up here, wherever you feel you fall. And same thing with little boys who were born as little boys and told they were little boys, but they or I'm sorry, or born as little girls, but they know that they're a man, and the gender schema for a man suits how their gender identity actually feels. They would fall over on this side. They would just be trans men. So I'm very, very accepting of transsexuality because it's a natural thing. It happens in nature. It's not something to be afraid of. And I guess the fear that people seem to espouse around trans people is so incredibly selfish and telling that again, I just wanted to speak on it a little bit today. You're welcome to interrupt at any time if you want to call in with a difference of opinion or to talk a little bit about your thoughts on it. But yeah, when it comes to transphobia, it's just something I cannot understand, because what it boils down to, it seems, is that if you're a transphobic man and you fall over here on the man side, then what it feels like is that you are really just afraid of your own sexuality. It's like you're scared that one day you're going to encounter someone who you feel very attracted to, or you might even want to start a relationship with. And then you find out that, oh, lo and behold, they actually have phenotypic sex traits that I wasn't expecting. They might have a penis. They might, have been born a man. And because you're so unwilling or unable to accept that you might be attracted to someone who started life a little differently than you anticipated, that scares you. You think you hate this. And so it's sad that if two different things occurred, I think we would be in a much better position as a society. One, I think if men were more willing to accept that trans women are women, they would feel so much less hatred, I guess, towards self-hatred, towards the prospect that they're actually, falling in love with or attracted to a man, because they're not men. They're trans women. They're women. And then secondly, I think that, again, if we were a little bit more open about our sexualities and the fact that, there's literally nothing wrong with liking a little D&B. If you're a man, there's nothing wrong with that. But we've been taught, since we were kids, that being gay is bad. And so, that naturally seeps over into transphobia. Oh my gosh, this girl. Let's see. Even phone guy being purple guy was a better theory. I don't understand. Let's see, women, men, and make pretend. Interesting. With the processing of the destruction of food supplies, this chart is truly changing. Okay. So what's it A for? Let me see. A for would be probably a woman whose gender schema of women fits her gender identity of what a woman is, but that she's happy to take on more masculine traits. Perhaps likes to be a tomboy or dress as in a more masculine presenting way, I would imagine. That's my guess. But I think, again, gender is for each of us to determine for ourselves. And the reason I think that's that way too is because, like, when people try to conflate sex and gender, it doesn't really make sense to me, because I genuinely don't meet somebody new and assess whether they are a male, whether they're a man or a woman or male or female by their phenotypic sex traits or genotypic sex traits. I do not meet somebody and say, oh, I got to see their dick to know that they're a man. Like, I can see how they present, what their gender identity their gender expression is, so that I can very quickly be like, oh, okay, they're a man, or maybe they're a transitioning man, or maybe they're, whatever the case is. Like, the only thing we really have to go on is what we see, what we're presented with, what people's gender expressions are. So why then would anybody be concerned about what's in somebody's pants? That's not how we operate on a daily fucking basis. So I just don't get it. So again, that's why the only conclusion I can come to, and again, correct me if I am wrong, please. Like, definitely let me know if there are other reasons, other salient and germane reasons that trans people are othered and seen as bad and hated on. Like, where does that come from? If not the fear, the homophobic fear that you are going to personally find yourself confronted with having to question your sexuality. Again, what is there? So, I mean, explain the purple guy theory. I don't understand what that is. Very happy to get some clarification, or again, let me know if I'm wrong. If you want to call that number, very happy to have a chat with you. Again, I'm a big fan of Destiny and Javon Bradley, but I'm not here to debate you. I am not here to tell you what your logical fallacies are. Just very happy to, again, try to find some common ground with this, and some common understanding with maybe how we move forward more kindly and empathetically as a society, because it's sorely lacking. It's sorely lacking. So that's kind of where I'm at with things. Like, again, I don't feel that I fall solidly in the A1 category. But I don't really give a shit. Like, if you call me they, I don't give a fuck. But I know that when people first see me, and I guess that's another reason I don't feel like I fall solidly in the woman category. Like, when you first see me, it's pretty unmistakable that I'm a girl, because I have the biggest boobs known to fucking man, and I have hips, and I'm very female presenting, but I don't really, obviously I look a hot mess. I look probably a little worse than I do normally tonight. But yeah, I don't really wear makeup. I don't really present in an ultra feminine way, if that makes sense. So I'm not really I'm very kind of happy to exist in the not quite A1 side of things. But I also wanted to maybe play out this theory a little bit, that if everybody were trans, like, what the fuck difference would that make? Like, people are like, oh, I'm so worried about the trans agenda, and they're gonna turn everybody trans. Okay, not that that's at all possible, but even if it fucking were, so the fuck what? Like, what would that change? Like, how would that make society fall, or we wouldn't even like end as a species, because it's not like trans people can't procreate. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's what I don't get. Like, if you're so mad about the prospect of trans people eradicating the species, then why do you get mad when trans men get pregnant? Like, it's such a contradiction, which again leads me to believe that the only reason that men especially are upset when they're confronted with trans people is that they are so worried that it's going to force them to reckon with their sexuality in some way. And we were talking about homophobia a little bit ago, and I definitely think that people who are homophobic have to consider that not everybody is like them. So for them to say, oh, seeing the gay agenda, seeing gay people on TV, having them put it all in our face is going to turn people gay. They got to understand, like, actual straight people, actual people who aren't attracted to men, they don't think that way. It's literally only gay people or bi people or pan people who are susceptible to being turned gay, or being influenced by any kind of gay media or anything like that. So I definitely, I just think that plays right into the whole transphobia thing. And that's something that I don't know. My topic says gaming. Not true. Hi, baby. Let me change that. Okay. I just noticed that. But yeah, again, if you disagree, that's what this time is for us to chat about it, for you to let me know what your thoughts are and how you came to those thoughts, because again, a lot of times it feels like to me that the only reason people are trans or homophobic is due to outside influence, how you were born. I've always gone by the maxim that you can't reason somebody out of an argument they didn't reason themselves into. And so I think the same is true for hatred, for transphobia, for homophobia. I think that people who feel that way were taught to be that way by their families, by society, by perhaps understanding that if they were to express any sort of femininity as a little boy, that their dad might beat the shit out of them, or that their mom might cast them out of the house, or whatever the case is. So, instead of actually confronting that hatred and that fear of themselves, they repress it, they project it, and they put it on everybody else. And it's so obvious. Like, that's the thing for me. And again, correct me if I'm wrong or if you feel differently. But that's the thing for me. The second somebody comes out as being homophobic, I'm like, oh, they're gay. They're questioning. They're repressing their own desire to get a little D and B. And that's the first thing I would venture to say most rational people think, because again, you don't come into a place of hatred. You didn't reason yourself into that, because there's no reasonable argument for hating gay people. It's not natural. It's very natural. There's so many species of animals that exhibit homosexuality. So it's just insane to me that, again, that people don't really have a good reason for their hatred of even transphobia. uh Being trans is a natural thing. There's a famous duck on Instagram who turned into a boy because there were no other men in her flock, I guess. So it's something that happens all the time with fish, and again with certain avian species. A lot of amphibians and reptiles and things do that. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Even hyenas, the girls turn into, like, especially the head girl or whatever, turns into a man, basically. So, as they grow up, and they form penises. So these are even transsexuality is even inherent in mammalian species. So it's one of these things where if the excuse isn't excusing, then there's got to be a simpler reason. And again, I think it's just projection, self-loathing, hatred, what we're taught as society. I grew up in a household where you know, it was very religious. I absolutely knew for a fact that my mother would not be accepting of anything I wanted to do, if it was different than this perfect, um, smart, cis hetero person. And so it's really, it's daunting to think that if I had been trans, if I had been non-binary, I am pansexual. I've had several girlfriends throughout my life, and you know, seeing how that was accepted or not accepted by my mom was very hurtful. So just to think that if my whole identity, my whole existence was uh, absolutely othered, and again, say my mom didn't appreciate that or like that or kicked me out or whatever the case was. I absolutely get why people would repress that, or people would stuff that down within themselves. So, yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. And again, this is your time. This is your space. I'm literally just hanging out, trying to create a safe space for you in case you feel that you want to chat with someone about what I'm saying or any other topic that's on your heart to talk to like a more progressive left-leaning person about, yeah. So I'm just here to hold this space. Let me actually flip the camera around. There we go. I think baby girl's finally making her way to sleep. I see those eyes blinking though, so maybe not. She's like, no, no, mom, I'm not. That's okay. Yeah. I'm trying to put her down because I don't think that TikTok really likes babies and kids in the feeds. As evidenced by I think I'm alone now. I think we're alone now. Yeah, it was like 300 and something people, and now it's like zero. So I'm gonna try to move her out of the shot. All right, and hopefully that helps. But yeah, again, this is Call a Liberal with your girl, Sophie of sexwithsophie.com. I teach people how to talk to each other about sex and sexuality, whether you're trying to talk to your children, whether you're trying to talk to your partner, whether you're trying to talk to yourself and have better self talk with yourself, or whether you're trying to talk to loved ones or friends who might think differently than you, especially around topics of, again, sex and sexuality, like things like abortion, trans rights, LGBTQIA kind of things. So that's really where that comes in. But yeah, I'm just holding this space in case you would like to give me a call. You can call the number on your screen. That doesn't seem to be switching over. So let me make sure we switch that over. And okay. Interesting. Hopefully that's a little better. You can see the phone number. I don't think it was coming across before. But yeah, feel free to give me a call at any time throughout the night. I am here for you. This is your time and your space to call a liberal. Or I'd say just somebody who's a little more left leaning than most. I'm pretty progressive when it comes to most, I guess, talking points around politics and political beliefs or standings. So yeah, that's what this is. I also run a website called sexwithsophie.com where I teach people how to talk to each other about sex and sexuality. I'm sorry, your nose is gross. But that's really, you know, not neither here nor there. I think that that was kind of my entree into this world of talking about these kind of things. I'm sorry, your nose is just, ugh. Okay, is that better? There we go. So when it comes to real women, and again, thank you, Berto, for for that sweet compliment. I think it's a wonderful thing to be a woman. I have no problem with other people who might not have been born into womanhood. None of us were, first of all. We all have to grow into being a woman and learning how to be a woman and what that means. So if people join our sisterhood from uh, the alternate side or the other side, I am so here for it. Like I'm absolutely welcoming of anyone who wants to claim the mantle of being a woman. And it's one of those things where I know for a fact that you uh, are not choosing that. Like it's not something that people would choose, I don't believe. I feel like a lot of folks who um, are so worried about, again, like homophobia and, oh, they're going to turn the kids gay and all this stuff. Like, nobody wants to be gay. It's kind of like, I don't think anybody wants to be fat. In America, I don't think a lot of people really would choose or want to even be black or a minority. Like, I'm so proud and I'm so happy to be black, to be a woman. But goddamn, like if the options were laid out for me. Now I'm the kind of person I like to play games on hard mode. So I probably still would have chosen to be exactly who I am. But God, it's like we've moved past hard mode and now we're in like nightmare mode when it comes to, again, just existing. So I just think with the challenges that come with being trans, with being non-binary, with being othered, with being a minority, a marginalized group, nobody's choosing this. Nobody's choosing it. And so to even make it more difficult for people, it just makes no kind of sense at all. Um, let's see. Dwyman, I really hope you could expand on the good guy Foxy thing. I'm really not sure what you were talking about. Somebody was talking about Luca the other day, and I was so confused until I saw the Luca Doncic thing. Like a day later, I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. So when it comes to like sports references and some references, I'm like Captain America. Like it's gonna be few and far between. I'm old, friends. I'm an old lady, so that's probably where a lot of that's coming from. Um, but yeah, ultimately, yeah, I'm just again holding this space for you, dear friends. This is a show I like to call. Well, I don't like to call it call a liberal, where if you are wanting to chat with somebody who thinks and believes a little bit differently than you, then this is your time. This is your space to chat with somebody who absolutely respects and believes that any woman who says they're a woman is a fucking woman when it comes to my point of view, because gender is such a self-determined thing. It's such a self-determined thing. So the only way that we, actually can influence somebody else's gender is if we birth that person and we want to tell them what we think their gender is before they're able to, again, make that self-determination. So while people are in that determining period where they're building their gender schemas, which we all do as children and as babies, all the way up to toddlerhood, um, sure, you can dress your baby however you want to, and you can put pink on them if you think they're little girls, and you can put blue on them if you think they're little boys, and it's no problem. But the second they start to tell you, "Hey, mom, dad, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't quite fit who I believe myself to be," then it's incumbent on you as a parent to respect that and to you don't have to sit there and be like, oh, okay, let's go have surgery tomorrow. First of all, that could not happen. You're not even uh there's no surgeries at all for people under like 15 years old in America. Anyway, they go by what's called the Tanner stages. Yes, I know. So it's one of those things where you can support your child in transitioning socially, doing things like giving them a haircut or letting them grow their hair out or letting them dress how they want to. And I don't think that has shit to do with like being trans. Like if my little girl came to me today and was like, "Mom, I want to cut my hair," I would be a little disappointed because it's like, oh, it's so beautiful and so curly and long, so that I wish I had her hair. It's so beautiful. But if she wants to cut it and she's like, yeah, this is what I want for myself, I believe in her bodily autonomy no matter what gender she thinks she wants to be or whatever the case is. It has nothing to do with that. I think it always just has to do with, again, bodily autonomy. How does she want to dress? How does she want to present herself? And how can I better help her to do that? So, yeah, I just don't think it's that fucking hard, to respect your kids. And then as they grow up, you can certainly take things steps further if they do feel like they want to begin transitioning. Again, you can start with social transitions, making sure they're going to therapy, making sure they're seeing medical professionals about their Tanner stages, which are basically the levels of puberty that they're reaching and what that might mean for them if they do not feel that their gender identity matches what they were born with. So again, there's so much that can be done. There's so much that can be done. But I've been here by myself for quite some time. I think I'm gonna maybe hop off and hop back on, see if that helps a little bit. Interesting. I don't know if this is a topic that's uh not TikTok's not a fan of it. Let's see. I I also don't see much in the way of my YouTube and Kick and Twitch friends engaging, so I think I might just be out here in the void, all alone in the abyss, talking to myself, which I'm fine with. I like I'm very introverted despite uh everything else that might make me seem to not be. I'm very introverted. So, yeah. It's interesting. Um, okay. I think we're back on track a little here. I was just talking to the ether, and so that was a little weird. Um, Hi, baby. Yes, baby. No, baby. No, baby. No, 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 no. Let me get that over here. You go to sleep. Thank you, baby. Hi. Okay. So I think we're back on track here a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Um, yeah, so I was just really just trying to explain that when it comes to defining a real woman, that's up to every individual to do for themselves, for him or herself. And so it's one of those things where when you try to put that on somebody else and you try to say, oh no, you're this and you were born this, so you're definitely this, it just sounds idiotic to me because gender is a social construct and it is based on how we individually formulate our gender schemas. So to try and say, oh, it's, you don't fit what I think it is, of course people wouldn't fit what you think it is, because we have to determine those things for ourselves. So the funny thing about it though is that, you know, with all this bathroom talk and all this nonsense, it's wild to me because we just don't operate like that as a society. We don't operate like that on a daily basis. Like I do not meet somebody new, and in order for me to determine whether they're a boy or a girl or man or a woman, I do not have to see their genitals to do that. I don't. Um, so it's almost like, why do you feel like even people who are not really passing, or they're not as stealthy as a trans person, why do we feel like it's our place to then comment on what we think they might have in their pants? That is horribly offensive and disrespectful. And talk about disrespect. Did you guys see that they dead named and absolutely misgendered? Um, is it a congresswoman? Oh man, I have to find her name, but they said the gentleman from wherever they're from, and he's now ready to come to, and use his dead name. Oh, like my heart like absolutely hurt for that person. I was absolutely horrified by that. So one of the things that you know that I just find so hypocritical with that is let them be told anything feminine about, oh, you know any kind of compliment, anything that's other, if they don't use their pronouns properly or whatever the case is, they'll have a fucking fit. Say yes ma'am instead of yes sir to one of these dudes, and they'll have a fit. So, to then do the same thing that would piss you off to someone else on purpose is horrifyingly mean and just disrespectful and unempathetic. Because again, I do not understand what's so wrong with being trans. What's the problem? What are you so fucking scared of? It just makes no sense to me. So again, call me. Let me know. What are you afraid of? Like, what is so scary about trans people that you have to stomp them into the ground? She farted. That was cute. You okay? But um, or did I? And I'm blaming it on her. No, she did it. Although I did smelt it. Um, let's see if I can fix this thing. I think I did. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so that's all fixed. That's good. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like really not going out for people. Hi, amazing woman. Yeah, so just sit here chit-chatting about all the things when it comes to just gender gender and sex. So if you have thoughts on that, this is your time. This is your space to absolutely share if you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right. And I'm going to just reset TikTok because it is not TikToking. Um, you gotta get down, baby. Go down. Go sleep. All right, so let's try it again. Excuse me. Real men of genius. All right, and I think we're back again here, just chit chatting about what it takes to be a real woman. And so I just absolutely don't think that when it comes to sex and gender, that it makes any sense to hate on trans people. Like literally, what is wrong with being trans? Like I gotta know, like, what is the problem? What is the problem? Like, what are you so afraid of happening if if everybody were trans, if we all fell for the trans agenda, like how would that make the world a worse place, or who would be harmed? Like I genuinely would like to know like what yeah, like it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And also like being a mom now, like I just don't understand how anybody could like literally disown their kid or be upset with their kid for just being who they are. Like my daughters could do I can't think of a single thing that they would do or want to be that would make me love them less. So as parents out here, like how can you possibly be transphobic? It makes no sense. So that's again what I'm hoping to discover. I genuinely hope that you will let me know like why are trans people hated so much? Like what's the thinking there? Why do people feel like uh being trans is going to hurt someone? I know there's a lot of misconceptions around like children who are trans and what's being done to them and stuff. So again, if you feel like that's a concern of yours, like let me know because I swear the only thing I can think of as to why people would be transphobic is that they're questioning their own sexuality or they're scared to have their sexuality questioned. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Give me a call and let's chat about it because again, I don't understand what is so wrong with being trans. I'm a woman and I absolutely love growing our sisterhood. I feel like we all, as women, have to learn how to be women and grow up to be better women and understand what it means to move in society as a woman. So, what's wrong with affording other people that opportunity to also evolve and grow in the way that they feel most comfortable? So, again, I'm very much trying to understand where the hate for trans people comes from. Sometimes when I see arguments from people who are transphobic, they'll say things like, "Oh, you just shouldn't do that to the kids. You shouldn't do that to the kids." And it's one of those things where I doing what like there's no surgeries happening. Nobody's sending their kids to school and they're coming back as the opposite gender. It makes no sense to me. And then when you have women who are transphobic, what is that about? Like, what are you really afraid of? Because it's not being afraid of anybody coming into the restroom with you, because there are stalls. I've literally never seen anybody's genitalia in any kind of private setting. The one time I saw a naked woman was in a gym locker room, and it she didn't have to do that. It was an old white lady just letting it all hang out. And I've been told that that happens in the men's gym locker rooms too. But there were plenty of stalls, plenty of changing rooms, plenty of bathrooms. So what is the deal? What are you claiming to be so afraid of if you're a woman who's like, I don't want men in my spaces? If you don't want men in your spaces, you would not opt for people to go to the bathroom of their gender at birth, because there are a ton of, and they real sexy, but these trans men out here, some of them, I don't mind them coming in the bathroom if they want to. Good Lord. But would you be more shocked to see a trans woman come into the bathroom, or a fully bearded, muscle bound man who just happened to be born as a little girl come into the bathroom with you? It makes no sense. And even if they did, like what are you thinking you're going to prevent? What is it you think is not going to happen? Because if you're so worried about someone taking advantage of you in the bathroom, do you really think an asshole who's willing to, sexually abuse or SA or whatever, a woman is going to walk into the bathroom area and be like, oh, the sign says women. I guess I can't go in here. No. So that's not the reason. So the only reason I can honestly think of as to why women in particular might be transphobic is that they they honestly just want that proximity to men, that proximity of hate. I think people like Nancy Mace in particular, who are so hateful towards her trans sisters, are genuinely just trying to garner favor. And maybe even some are trying to seek safety, in the white male gaze, or having white men actually feel uh like, oh, see, yeah, if this woman also believes this, then she's just, helping to push my rhetoric, or whatever the case may be. So again, please let me know if I'm wrong. If you're a woman who's transphobic, or you genuinely had a bad experience in a restroom or something, let me know. Like, I'd love to know if I'm wrong or if I'm not hitting the mark. Again, if you're a man who's transphobic, the only thing I can come to as to why you might be is that you're worried that one day you're going to be attracted to a woman and realize that she has phenotypic sex traits that you weren't expecting, and then maybe that has you question yourself a little bit. And I think that one single, perhaps, in your mind, if you're transphobic as a man, is making you or causing you to hate on an entire group of people who are already vulnerable, already marginalized. So again, if I'm wrong, please let me know, because I don't understand what other reasons people could have for being transphobic. What do you hate? What are you worried about? Why are you so scared of these people? It makes no sense to me at all. So, I mean, we talk a lot about um, gender and transness and whatnot, but if you also just want a understanding of the differences between like sex and gender and whatnot, this is the place to get that clarification. I love Destiny and Luke Beasley, Dean Withers, all these, Javon Bradley. Yes, all these like debaters out here, but that's not this. That's not me. First of all, I'm very non-confrontational. I feel like a little spider sometimes, like Benny would say. I'm way more afraid of you than you are of me. I guarantee it. And so I'm not out here trying to bust anybody's balls. I'm not here to be like, oh, your logical fallacies. No. So if you want to call and disagree, like, I welcome that, because I'm thinking that we actually might not be as far from each other's way of thinking as you might assume. I'm absolutely somebody who wants to get to the bottom of things, understand where you're coming from with what you're thinking, why you might be thinking what you're thinking. Welcome, Ukrainian. Welcome, everybody who's coming in. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, because we're just here trying to, again, get an understanding of what is happening and why we think we are so diametrically opposed to one another, when we have so much more in common than we have that separates us, as Kamala Harris might say. So ultimately, let me know if I'm off base, if I'm wrong. I'm here to accept that I'm wrong. If you have evidence that shows that trans people are really out here trying to ruin the world and they're evil people, like, let me see it. I'd love to correct where I have a misconception. But honestly, like, I'm trying to find the grace for transphobic people, because again, sometimes I think they're lied to so vociferously and told that, hi baby, and they're told, oh, these people are they're sending their kids to school, and their kids are coming home a different gender, and they believe that. And if that were happening, I would be afraid. That would make me scared if that was like an evidenced thing that happened. But it's not. It's just simply not. If I were told, oh man, they're taking kids and they're chopping them up and they're doing, I'd be like, what? What the fuck? So no, I absolutely can understand when you're told a lie that's that egregious and you believe it. I can see why you would be upset. So that's why, again, hopefully we could take this time together to iron out any misconceptions. But again, I think that once we sort out where perhaps you have had a misinterpretation of things, or a misunderstanding of things, or just been lied to, unfortunately. Once you get the truth, you have to then query yourself and say, okay, well, now that I know that they're not out here sending kids to school and they're coming home, yeah, they're coming home with a sex change. Now that I know that that's not happening, am I able to move past this anger, this righteous anger that I feel? Am I able to now say, oh, well, maybe I can do a little bit more research? This is important to me. So I will take the time to understand Tanner stages and what HRT means and all this stuff. Like it, that's one direction to go once you are confronted with the truth. Or, if you want to remain in a place of hatred, if you want to remain in a place of misunderstanding, that's also a choice. but what I'm hoping is after we chat, after we clarify some things, that you're more comfortable in doing the former and saying, okay, you know what, I had that wrong. I still have some questions. I might do a little research or homework. I might try finding and talking. There's plenty on TikTok. There's plenty on these other social media platforms. Finding a trans person and actually asking them the questions that I, had, or looking them up. But it's impossible once you know the truth of a matter to not choose a direction. And if you go the other way, if you understand that no child out here is getting surgeries, no kid is going to school and coming back a different gender, there are no kitty litter boxes in schools. Once you learn these things and you still decide that you're going to hate people that you've never met and who you don't know anything about just because Donald Trump told you to, you at that point cannot claim that you are a good person. You cannot do it. You cannot. And so here we are at this time. I am here trying to say that I know and I believe that you are a good person. I understand why you might not like the trans agenda or understand trans people, because you've been told lies. You have been misrepresented as to who and what they are. And so, again, hopefully we can clarify those things and you can remain the good person I know you to be by then championing these vulnerable and marginalized people, by challenging other people who held the same misconceptions that you did. Okay. And then hopefully we can move forward from there. Someone says being a supportive parent means the world. It does. I would not be the person I am today without supportive parents. And you know what? Anybody can say that. And I'm not trans, but if my mom was kind of a piece of work, or is kind of a piece of work, I'm a child of a narcissistic parent, but my dad was just amazing. Like, I'm pansexual. So I remember bringing, girlfriends home, and my dad wouldn't bat an eye. I don't think I've ever actually brought a girlfriend in front of my mom. She knows now that I'm pan, but but yeah. So to have a supportive parent, whether you're gay or pansexual or bisexual or trans, is so, so important. Whether you're a nerd, whether you're, yes, whether you're screaming, whether you're asexual, whatever, it's absolutely imperative. And so the parents who are out there saying, oh, well, I'm going to be hard on my kid because the world is hard, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're not being a good parent. You're not preparing them for anything. You have to shelter your kids from this shit because you're the only shelter they've got. So when I hear of parents who kick their kids out, which are many, for just being themselves, loving whoever they're going to love, like, I can't get with that. I can't understand that. And now if you're a parent who's done that, if you said, you know what, I told my kid, or I'm Christian, and whatever the reason is, let's chat about it. I would love to understand that reasoning, because it's not one that's in me to espouse. It's just not. So let's definitely keep the conversation going because again, I do not think you are a bad person. I absolutely think that you are a good person. And so once we clarify maybe some misconceptions, then it's up to you how we move forward or how we operate differently. Yes, I know she's kicking things. Sorry. So maybe what we could talk about a little bit are some of the differences between sex and gender, just to again clarify some things, explain some things while we wait for callers. Because again, you are absolutely welcome to interrupt me at any time and give me a buzz, especially if you think differently or if you feel like something I've said is like, no, that's not right. Let me know. Thank you for the beautiful comments so far. But if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment too. But when it comes to sex, we can't even look at this little chart I have up because sex is literally just three things. That's it. Um, you can be a male, you can be a female, you can be somewhere in between, and that's intersex. It's kind of all we got when it comes to sex. And sex are these physical things that we really can't do much about. We're just born with them. Some things we can change, like our phenotypic sex traits. So when it comes to sex, you have genotypic sex traits. Those are your genes, your chromosomes, things that are kind of inherent to you, your DNA. Oh gosh. But you also have, yeah, you do. I'm trying to keep her off the screen. I don't think TikTok likes babies being on the thing. But yeah, you also have what's called phenotypic sex traits. And these are the more reproductive things, the more physical things like the peen and the vagine, the balls and all the ovaries, testes, all that, the good stuff. That's phenotypic sex traits. You also have what's called secondary phenotypic sex traits. Those are things that aren't really associated with reproduction, but they're still determining factors of whether you fall into the male or female category or intersex category, like having facial hair, having boobs and hips, chest, hairy chest, hair on your body, stuff like that. Those are secondary sex traits. So when it comes to sex, that's all. That's all that. But the cool thing about sex is that it's malleable. It's changeable. According to the textbook that writes the book on sex and gender, neuroscience, sex is malleable by natural processes, by surgeries, or by hormone treatments. So for somebody to say that they're transsexual is not an inaccurate thing. I know it's more of an outdated way of talking about transgender people, but people who go through HRT or who have a surgery or what do you call it, a phalloplasty and things like that, those are transsexual people. They have effectively changed their sex. And isn't that cool? I think that's really dope. So you have, that's all sex. That's all sex. But then you have gender. In gender, I know with sex we had the three, male, female, intersex, and that's kind of it. But with gender, gosh, look at all just in this chart alone, you got like, woman, man, you could be a little girl, little boy. You can be agender where you don't feel like you're either. You can be non-binary where you can feel a little like you're a little bit of both. You can be gender fluid where you can go between. Gender flux is kind of in there. So gender is such a nice, spicy, wonderful, fun mix of all these things. And it's all based on social and cultural norms that we as individuals and as children develop gender schemas for. So again, I'm just kind of blah blah blabbing, but you are welcome to interrupt at any time, especially if you have any questions, or if you disagree with anything that I'm chatting about. This is your time. This is your space to call a very progressive, left-leaning Black woman from the American South who lives in the UK and doesn't, who voted for Kamala Harris. I'm trying to think of other. I'm an atheist. Yeah, if you want to talk to somebody like me about things, yeah, I'm here for you for that. Ultimately, though, one of the things that that comes up with gender and with, I guess, this hate I see for like the transgender population, um is that again, you think you're there's all this stuff that's being done to children, and I'm here to tell you, like, that's just not true. So if you've been hearing there's stuff going on at schools and the kids go to school and they come back a different gender, again, just simply not true. Simply not true. There's so much that's involved when a child uh, divulges to their parents that they feel that their gender identity doesn't match the gender schema that they have for whatever sex or gender they were assigned at birth. And so, like, if your child, and they typically do, start to, how? You see, I have a baby. This man said, "Hi, sweetie, you look great, but please consider taking a shower." I probably do have like spit up and all kind of stuff on me. I'll take a shower whenever moms are able to take showers. That would be great. My hair, oh my gosh. I literally just did a because I'm on Red Note, Xiaohongshu, and I did a little, oh, here's how I do my hair thing for Chinese people to see how black people did their hair. This was like 3 days ago, and it's already like just, so thank you, Mouse. I appreciate that feedback. I'll work on it. But yeah, ultimately, when it comes to, again, parents and them trying to navigate their child coming to them and saying that they feel they're trans, it's absolutely one of those things where a therapist gets involved, where GPs and family physicians get involved. So ultimately, it's this team of people who help the parents and the child navigate their way through their transition if they choose to have one. Some people don't. Some people are actually fine with being in a more non binary state. So you'll have kids who might want to go the full shebang where they get puberty blockers. And then once they're older and they're maybe 17, 18, and they're able to then get on hormone replacements and things like that, they'll do that, and they might actually continue on to have surgeries and things like that. Again, once they're adults, um, nothing drastic is happening in the childhood state, but some kids feel like, okay, well, no, I don't need to transition. Some feel like having a social change is enough. Some feel like even if they have a surgery, they might just have a top surgery and they're comfortable with that. So it's really up to the child to decide what they want to do and how far they want to take things. Yeah, so that's where you hear some of the, I guess, naysayers and whatnot. Oh my goodness. It's funny because this guy said I should consider taking a shower. But I bet if you could, if there was a thing called smell-o-vision, like you wouldn't want to be over here right now because baby girl, she's just tooting it up. I don't know if you've been hearing that on the thing, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just kind of BSing. Honestly, like I'm really just holding this space for you. This is your time and your space to perhaps call someone who thinks a little differently than you. I am willing to bet that we're not as far apart as you might think on some of these issues. Because again, if if it were the reality that people were out here hurting kids and harming children and putting them through something that they didn't ask for and didn't want, I too would be like, no, that's not good. Let's not do that. Can we help these kids to not have to go through this or whatever? Um, so I can get where you're coming from with that. And I again, I don't think that we're super far apart when it comes to our ways of thinking. So again, if once you understand that no, it's actually not the case that anybody's being harmed, nothing's irrevocable. Hopefully again that gives you a little bit more like a surety and comfort that these people who you have nothing to do with are not hurting anyone, and that children are not being harmed, and that there's therapists and doctors in the mix when it comes to any kind of procedure or medicine or process that might be given or tried or whatever the case is. So yeah, if you want to chat about any of those things, if you have seen differently, like that would let me know. Okay, maybe we need to find some different solutions if things are being taken advantage of, or people are being taken advantage of, or something like that. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things where um, it's just not happening. Sometimes I think we're so caught up in the media outlets or social media channels or influencers that we choose to follow that it's hard to lift our heads up out of the sand and look around and see, oh, actually in the real world this is what's going on, and this is a reality behind a thing. So, especially if you feel so strongly about it, if you feel so strongly about trans people that you have to support a politician who's going to be anti trans, or if you have to make some kind of kerfuffle in your office about gender neutral bathrooms, or if you have to go out of your way to actively, just actively fucking hate a person that you do not even know, if you feel that strongly about it, why do you then not go on to look into it a little bit more? Why do you simply take one outlet or person's really skewed way of thinking and move forward with that? Why live in America if you don't like us? I do not live in America. I fucking hate America. I left as soon as I possibly could. It's the worst. It's a dumpster fire and it's a shithole country. Why do you like America? I love Americans. And I feel horrible, especially for our trans Americans who are having to deal with all the bullshit that they're being presented with these days. So, no, America sucks. If you're patriotic, let me know why. Please give me a reason as to what America has done for you. What are we trying to make America into again? If we're trying to make America great again, when was America great, according to you? I'd love for you to tell me that, Laurie. Um, So yeah, great. Where do I live? Why do you want to know that? Ultimately, I live in a place that is very respectful. It's very amazing. I have health care. I had this baby right here 4 months early. Was in the hospital for 111 days. I did not have to pay a dime. She had the best care imaginable. She would not be here today if we were still in America. I live in the United Kingdom. I'm very happy to tell you that, but I'm not going to get into more specifics. It's the best. It's amazing over here. I wish you could come. I really do. Have you actually like traveled outside of America? I'd love to know. Thank you. Happy Black History Month to you too. And yeah, it's he just said Happy History Month, and that's the goddamn truth. It is Black history is fucking history, y'all. Let's see. Bless you and goodbye. Well, thank you for dropping in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you'll be more traveled and get outside of that shithole country a little bit and see that there's so much more out there. um, Again, if you disagree with anything I'm saying, instead of wishing me to leave, which again I did, give me a call. Let's chat about it. Very happy to talk about anything. Is there racism in the UK? Um, I'm gonna say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that their racism presents itself in a much different way. It's a different flavor, as in you'll see a lot of hate towards like immigrants, and I'm saying a lot, and even that's like an over exaggeration. Like I'll give you a good example. There was recently a kid who schmurdered, red rummed these little girls in a horrible knife attack. It was awful. It was called the Southport Massacre. And in response to that, there was a group of very like alt-right militia people who got together, and they started doing all these like Muslim and immigrant like protests around England. And the they got maybe an hour in and they were burning buildings and trying to get into this mosque to burn it and so it was horrible. But not even an hour in, this counter protest came out, and just absolutely, like, the police were there, everybody, like, they just shut that shit right down. And the next day they were going to try to do it again, and there were way more like counter protesters out there before they could even start any bullshit. So yes, you have people here who are like racist towards, again, like immigrants. Who the Southport killer guy didn't, he wasn't even an immigrant, he was British. His parents had immigrated from Africa, I think. But yeah, so that's kind of a representation of the kind of racism you see here. Again, very anti-immigrant, very anti-Muslim, I would say. But even that's more of a xenophobia. It's not really like a religious ism, I would say. But when it comes to the types of racism that I experience in legal immigration or illegal immigration, yeah, they don't like when people like take boats into France and then are sent to the UK, or yeah, they don't like that kind of thing when it comes to like illegal. And we say illegal, we could talk about that a little bit, but yeah. So so yeah, they don't like migrants a lot here. But when I say they don't, again, that's a tiny, tiny, tiny group of people in England, and most don't freely express those views. I think again, they when they do come out of the woodwork, they are very quickly stomped down. But racism, like toward particularly like black people in the UK, is virtually non-existent. Where it does happen, it is illegal and it is very quickly dealt with. There was a footballer who this guy on Twitter was like, yeah, this gorilla out here doing this and that. This man got arrested. His trial was all over the BBC. They were like giving daily updates. He didn't even say anything like half as crazy as what they say on the Daily in America. And they were like, yeah, the judge threw out his argument because he tried to say that it was a text to type situation, but he also said this over here. And I mean, they dug into his ass, and he ended up having to like go to jail for like 60 days or something. And I mean, it was just crazy. So any kind of, racism here is just stomped out. But the beautiful thing about the UK, I found, is when I first got here, when I just first visited, I remember going to H&M or somewhere and getting something, and it didn't fit. So I went back to the store, and I went to the lady at the register, and I handed her I had like a big book bag on. So I handed her my book bag, and I handed her my shopping bag with the item that I wanted to return. And I said, hey, I want to return this, but I'm going to do a little shopping first. And she looked at me like I was fucking crazy. She was like, okay, so why are you handing me your bags? And I was like, oh, you don't think I'm going to steal while I'm walking around the store? You don't inherently believe that I'm a thief just because I'm black? Like, it was insane to me. It was insane to me. I don't have dual citizenship. I'm here on like a visa, but in about 2-3 years I can apply for citizenship. So I've been here for 2 years, 2.5 years. And it's amazing. It's definitely amazing. So again, these microaggressions and the way that we have to move as black people in America just does not exist over here. It's literally like you get off the plane and this miasma of fucking hate just fucking lifts off of you. Like, I can meet someone new and I don't have to reintroduce myself like I do in America. Because in America, when you meet somebody, they automatically think they know who you are. They automatically think that you're going to speak a certain way or act a certain way or behave a certain way, whatever. And then once you finally talk to them and get to know them, then it's like, oh, whoa, now you can start to see who I really am as a person. But when it comes to the UK, you meet people and it's like, oh, hi. Like, it's just automatic respect, automatic graciousness. It's just beautiful. I would highly, highly advise you to visit, come over here, see what it's all about. It's just a beautiful place. if not to again just experience that amazing feeling of not having to deal with racism and microaggressions off gate, you know. It's lovely. So one of the things that um when it comes to like the trans thing here too, like yeah, I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen that there was any issue with being trans or being gay over here. So it's not just racism. I feel like most marginalized groups, again, I think if you're an immigrant, there's still people here who hold a lot of and harbor a lot of misconceptions about you and stuff like that. But even with some people having that sentimentality, and a lot of immigrants that they have these problems with come from like African countries, I still haven't encountered anyone who, before hearing my American accent, has treated me differently or worse, or again half as poorly as they do in America. So yeah, come over here. It's great. But again, other marginalized groups here in the UK have just so much more love and acceptance here. It's really beautiful. It's a really amazing place to live. I'm so glad I escaped. I'm so glad we escaped. And it genuinely feels like we escaped. Because I have two little girls. Like I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. And again, like having my youngest baby as early as we did, again, I just don't think she would be here. In fact, I know she wouldn't be here. One of the reasons I put on my little thing that abortion is awesome is because when I was trying to get pregnant, we did IVF and I lost our first attempt. Like we were successful, I got pregnant, but I lost that baby at 7 weeks. And luckily, again, I live in the UK. I was able to get a smabortion, a dilation and curettage or DNC the very next day. And then 30 days later, I was pregnant again from IVF attempt number two with her. This is Day. And so, absolutely a huge fan of the UK, a huge fan of smabortion, a huge fan of just letting people do what's best for them and be who they're going to be. And I love that the UK believes in that and agrees with that. Luckily, they voted in the Labor Party here, which is much more like the Democratic Party in America. And so we're starting to see a lot of really forward movement and momentum and like the education system here being improved and the healthcare system here being improved and even things like the economy and prices and stuff getting worked on. So it's just lovely. This is a great place to be. So if you're in America, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because the thing about it is people who feel like, oh, I'm a white man and I'm, fuck everybody else. Like you're not getting the benefits that you could be getting as an American by way of taking so many things away from marginalized groups. Like white people are all up in arms about DEI. We've been talking about that a lot for the last few days on Call a Liberal. But the crazy thing is, like when they went after all these DEI executives and leaders and professionals, 76% of them were white women. So it's insane to me that white people, especially white men, who celebrate whiteness, are attacking their very people by trying to take things away from marginalized groups. It's like they don't understand that LGBTQ people can be white, and people with disabilities can be white, and people who speak other languages can be white, and people who are low income can be white. And so it's just like, I do not understand white supremacy. All of that tends to come from the zero sum thinking of you getting something is me having something taken away from me or me losing something. And it's just not true. I highly recommend the book, The Sum of Us. Her name is Heather McGee, I believe, the author. Oh, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. So even when it comes to, again, things like trans rights, if we were to make every bathroom gender neutral, and have uh like tampons in every bathroom in men's bathrooms, and changing stations in men's bathrooms, like, wouldn't that be amazing for single dads? Wouldn't that be amazing for young kids who are little girls who are still having to go into the bathroom with a parent, and their parent might be a dad? So ultimately, like, it's a beautiful thing whenever you give one marginalized group a benefit, it benefits everybody. Like, DEI, again, includes people who are disabled. So we wouldn't have elevators in multi-story buildings without DEI. You wouldn't have ramps that people with strollers and people carrying luggage benefit from, and skateboarders benefit from. We just wouldn't have so many things if we didn't provide opportunities and benefits to marginalized groups. And so, just again, taking away and segregating essentially our bathrooms again. Didn't we see how that didn't work out for us in the past? It just makes no sense. And again, like, if you're a woman who is so up in arms about men coming into your bathroom to the point that you're lobbying your politicians to force people to go to the bathroom of their birth, do you not understand that you're going to walk into the restroom one day and see a fully bearded, buff man in the bathroom? And then what are you going to say? Because there are trans men that exist, sweetheart. Like, what are you going to do in that instance? It makes no sense to me. So, one of the things that, again, I just hope that this whole conversation helps people walk away with, it's just an understanding that there, what is it, lifting the rising tide lifts all ships, but also that the lowering tide can break all ships. That we lose so much when you attack and ostracize marginalized groups. I'm definitely seeing that our uh our people coming in and stuff are lessening. It is about 2:30 in the morning my way. Emo pup, I hope you don't mind me calling you out specifically, but I really appreciate you sticking around and hanging in here and following. Anybody else watching, if you want to check us out, hopefully we'll get some more calls as we continue to do this show. I did notice we had a couple of lapses in viewership today, so I don't know if I'm saying things or saying words and TikTok's not putting me out there like they have been over the last week. Because again, I've only been on TikTok live for a week. So I can't believe like how amazing you all have been. This has just been extraordinary to, again, offer a space for people to try to find connection and bridge our gaps and differences, because they just really don't exist in reality. We all have so much more in common with each other than we do with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, I promise you. So let's just keep this going. I'll be back every night, hopefully. I've been doing this for a few months now on other platforms. I'm glad to finally be here on TikTok Live. So thank you for your support. But make sure you follow and tune in every night to Call a Liberal. And again, hopefully we can bridge these gaps. But I absolutely appreciate you. And I love you guys so much for watching and trying to, again, understand how we can be better citizens and better friends to each other. So again, I love you. I hope you will love one another, but with permission. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you tomorrow at roughly 6 p.m. Eastern. But make sure you follow to see live notifications. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.